Hello and welcome everyone. This is the 10th lecture of Ancient Indian History and in this lecture we are going to discuss the topic of Jainism. तो आज के लेक्चर में सबसे पहले डिस्कस करेंगे कॉजेज फॉर द राइज ऑफ जैनिज्म एंड बुद्धिज्म। इसके बाद जैनिज्म के डिस्कशन स्टार्ट करेंगे जिसमें हम तीर्थंकर्स के बारे में स्टडी करेंगे, स्पेसिफिकली 23rd एंड 24th तीर्थंकर। देयर आफ्टर हम डिस्कस करेंगे जैन फिलॉसफी एंड देयर आफ्टर स्प्रेड, सेक्ट्स एंड काउंसिल्स ऑफ जैनिज्म को डिस्कस करेंगे। सेक्ट्स में दिगंबर और श्वेतांबर सेक्ट्स के सब सेक्ट्स को भी डिस्कस करेंगे, राइट। और इसके अलावा जो कुछ मिसलेनियस टॉपिक होंगे जैसे कि जैन सिंबल्स, प्रैक्टिसेस एटसेट्रा, इन्हें भी डिस्कस करेंगे। और इन सब टॉपिक्स के अलावा एक टॉपिक बचेगा जो कि है जैन लिटरेचर का, जिसे हम नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में डिस्कस करेंगे। ओके, सो विदाउट एनी फर्दर डिले लेट अस स्टार्ट टुडेज लेक्चर। ओके, सो स्टार्टिंग विद द कॉजेस फॉर द राइज ऑफ जैनिज्म एंड बुद्धिज्म. So the new religious ideas during 6th century BC emerged out of the prevailing religious, social and economic conditions. तो 6th century BC के दौरान सोसाइटी में जो रिलीजियस, सोशल और इकोनॉमिक कंडीशंस थी, ये कारण बनती है बिहाइंड द राइज ऑफ न्यू रिलीजियस आइडियाज। ओके, अब 6th century BC में काफी सारे नए रिलीजियस सेक्ट्स इमर्ज होते हैं, जिनमें से जो चार मेन है वो है जैनिज्म, बुद्धिज्म, चार्वाक एंड अजीविका। And out of these, the two most important ones are Jainism and Buddhism. अब इनके राइज के पीछे क्या क्या रिलीजियस, सोशल और इकोनॉमिक फैक्टर्स थे, उन्हें हम डिस्कस करेंगे। बट उसके पहले इन रिलीजियस सेक्ट्स के लिए कुछ टर्म्स यूज होती हैं जो आपको पता होनी चाहिए। These religious sects are called as unorthodox, heterodox, श्रमणा और नास्तिक schools of thought. अब इन सभी टर्म्स का क्या मतलब है? इन सभी टर्म्स का ये मीनिंग है दैट दीज रिलीजियस सेक्ट्स, दैट इज जैनिज्म, बुद्धिज्म, चार्वाक एंड अजीविका, दे डू नॉट एक्सेप्ट द अथॉरिटी ऑफ वेदास एंड दे ऑब्जेक्टेड टू द रिचुअलिस्टिक डोमिनेशन ऑफ ब्राह्मण्स इन द सोसाइटी। ओके, so these religious sects are called as unorthodox, heterodox, shramana और नास्तिक schools of thought. So now coming to the religious factors. सो लास्ट लेक्चर में हमने देखा था लेटर वैदिक पीरियड में डोमिनेंट मोड ऑफ वर्शिप था रिचुअल्स एंड सैक्रिफाइसेस, और ये रिचुअल्स एंड सैक्रिफाइसेस उस टाइम में काफी बढ़ गए थे। पब्लिक सैक्रिफाइसेस होते थे, प्राइवेट सैक्रिफाइसेस होते थे। पब्लिक सैक्रिफाइसेस में किंग और कम्युनिटी इन्वॉल्व होती थी एंड प्राइवेट सैक्रिफाइसेस लोग अपने घरों में करते थे। तो ये रिचुअल्स एंड सैक्रिफाइसेस काफी इलेबोरेट हो गए थे, कॉम्प्लेक्स हो गए थे, और साथ के साथ इतने सारे रिचुअल्स एंड सैक्रिफाइसेस को करना लोगों के लिए अनअफोर्डेबल हो गया था, राइट। और दूसरा, इन रिचुअल्स एंड सैक्रिफाइसेस को करने की मोनोपोली ब्राह्मण्स के पास थी, सो दे क्लेम्ड हाईएस्ट पोजीशन इन द सोसाइटी, राइट। एंड देयर आफ्टर जो वैदिक लिटरेचर था दैट वाज कंपोज्ड इन संस्कृत। संस्कृत लोगों को समझ नहीं आती थी क्योंकि आम लोगों की भाषाएं प्राकृत और पाली थी। तो वेदों में जो मंत्र दिए गए थे उनकी रिसाइटेशन, उनकी इंटरप्रिटेशन के लिए पीपल वर कंप्लीटली डिपेंडेंट ऑन ब्राह्मण्स, राइट। और वही जो जैनिज्म और बुद्धिज्म की टीचिंग्स थी वो आम लोगों की भाषाओं में थी। जैनिज्म की टीचिंग्स प्राकृत में थी, बुद्धिज्म की टीचिंग्स पाली में थी, तो लोगों को जैनिज्म और बुद्धिज्म की टीचिंग समझ आती थी। ऑल्सो जैनिज्म एंड बुद्धिज्म की टीचिंग्स आम लोगों के लिए बेसिकली एक सिंपल मोरल वे ऑफ लाइफ एडवोकेट करती थी, जो कि लोगों के लिए फॉलो करना भी आसान था, राइट। सो दीज वर द रीजंस दैट पीपल वर अट्रैक्टेड टुवर्ड्स दिस न्यू रिलीजियस. Okay, so these were the religious factors. Number one, rituals and sacrifices advocated during later Vedic period became too complex and expensive, and they established domination of Brahmins in the society. Next, Vedic literature was composed in Sanskrit that people did not understand because Prakrit and Pali were the languages spoken by the common people. Okay, so people were looking for a religion that could be easy to understand and follow, right? So these were the religious factors behind the rise of Jainism and Buddhism. Now next are the social factors. तो देखो, पोस्ट वैदिक पीरियड की जो सोसाइटी थी दैट वाज डिवाइडेड इनटू 4 वर्णास, दैट आर ब्राह्मण्स, क्षत्रियास, वैश्यास एंड शूद्रास। नाउ वर्ण व्यवस्था में हर एक वर्ण को कुछ स्पेसिफिक फंक्शंस असाइन किए गए थे। ब्राह्मण्स वर द प्रीस्ट एंड टीचर्स, क्षत्रियास वर द रूलर्स एंड वॉरियर्स, वैश्यास वर द एग्रीकल्चरलिस्ट, आर्टिजन्स, ट्रेडर्स एंड मर्चेंट्स, एंड देयरआफ्टर शूद्रास. Shudras served the upper 3 varnas and they worked as domestic slaves, agricultural slaves, laborers, right? Now जो ये वर्ण सिस्टम था it was hereditary, मतलब birth based सिस्टम था। मतलब जो जिस वर्ण में जन्म लेगा उसे उसी वर्ण से रिलेटेड काम करना पड़ता था। और साथ ही जो हायर वर्ण के लोग थे they were given certain privileges which were denied to the people of lower varnas. For example, जो ब्राह्मण्स थे they were exempted from taxations and punishments. Also, upper three varnas, Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, they were allowed to study Vedas, whereas Shudras, they were not allowed to study Vedas. And there were many other restrictions as well which were imposed on them, right? So, the rigid varna system during post-Vedic period generated tensions in the society. Now, next point is that during post-Vedic period, there was increase in the political power of Kshatriyas. So, they reacted strongly against the domination of Brahmins in the society. Okay. Also note that Vardhaman Mahavir and Gautam Buddha, they both belonged to the Kshatriya clan. Also, there were many rulers who patronized Jainism and Buddhism. So, Kshatriya reaction against the domination of Brahmins in the society is considered as one important cause behind the rise of Jainism and Buddhism. Okay. Next, there was emergence of new social groups in the society. For example, Gahapatis and Sethis. Gahapatis were rich householders or landowners and Sethis were the rich merchants. Now, these new social groups, they acquired considerable economic power, whereas their social position was not that good in the society. So, these new social groups also patronized Jainism and Buddhism to improve their social position in the society. Okay. So, these all were the social factors behind the rise of Jainism and Buddhism, right? Now, next coming to the economic factors. So, during 6th century BC, there was introduction of a new agriculture economy in the northeastern India. Northeastern India is the region of eastern Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Okay, तो उस टाइम पीरियड में जो इकोनॉमी थी दैट वाज प्राइमरीली बेस्ड ऑन एग्रीकल्चर एंड इन एग्रीकल्चर द यूज ऑफ आयरन प्लोशर स्टार्टेड और इन आयरन प्लोशर को चलाने के लिए बुलक्स की जरूरत थी बट देयर वाज वैदिक प्रैक्टिस ऑफ किलिंग एनिमल्स इन सैक्रिफाइसेस दिस किलिंग ऑफ एनिमल्स इन सैक्रिफाइसेस रिजल्टेड इन डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ कैटल वेल्थ सो कैटल वेल्थ धीरे धीरे कम होने लगी एंड दिस हैम्पर्ड द प्रोग्रेस ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर. So, it is in this context that the teachings of Jainism and Buddhism, which emphasized on ahimsa, that is non-violence, gained significance. Okay. Next point is that there was growth of trade and commerce during this period. तो देखो एक तो इस टाइम पीरियड में there was rise of large number of cities in northeastern India. These cities were Kosambi, Kushinagar, Banaras, Vaishali, Rajgir, and in these cities there were many artisans and traders. And there was growth in their trade, right? And also use of coins started during this period. Earliest coins were the punch-marked coins. So the usage of coins also facilitated trade and commerce. So there was growth of trade and commerce during this period. And this led to the improvement in the economic conditions of Vaishyas. So as a result, they wanted to enhance their social position. So they extended generous support to both Jainism and Buddhism, right? And then there was practice of money lending. And this practice of money lending and the people who lent money were criticized by the Brahmanical law books. So the Vaishyas who lent money on account of growing trade and commerce, they were eager to improve their social status. So they supported new religions, right? So these were the economic factors. And hence we see that there were various religious, social and economic factors behind the rise of Jainism and Buddhism, right? Okay, so अब start करते हैं Jainism के discussion. So Jainism is one of the oldest religions in the world, right? And the word Jainism or the word Jain is derived from Jina. Jina means conqueror. So Jinas were those who have conquered their senses or they have conquered their passions or desires. तो Jinas के followers को कहते हैं Jains और Jains का religion है Jainism. Okay. Now as per Jain traditions, there were 24 Tirthankars who were responsible for the origin and development of Jain philosophy or Jain religion. So Tirthankars were the great teachers or enlightened teachers of Jainism. Okay. तो यहाँ तीर्थंकर का लिटरल मीनिंग होता है फोर्ड मेकर, वेयर तीर्था मीन्स फोर्ड या पैसेज या पाथ एंड करा मीन्स मेकर. So Tirthankars means ford makers. So Tirthankars were those who have attained supreme knowledge and they make path for others to cross the sea of samsara. Samsara is the endless cycle of birth and death, right? So this is the literal meaning of Tirthankar. Tirthankars were the ford makers, that is they make path for others to cross the sea of samsara, which is the endless cycle of birth and death, right? Now this Tirtha is in the form of four-fold religious order comprising of sadhus, sadhvis, shravaks and shravikas. Sadhus are monks, sadhvis are nuns, shravaks are male householders and shravikas are female householders. Right? So after attaining supreme knowledge, the one who establishes four-fold religious order is known as Tirthankar. and he preaches Jain philosophy, ethics, conduct to his followers. Okay. So there were 24 Tirthankars. Now Jains, they know about all their 24 Tirthankars, but historically not much is known about first 22 Tirthankars. Only 23rd and 24th Tirthankars were the historical personalities, right? And we will study about them. So first of all, the first Tirthankar was Rishabhnath. He is also known as Adinath, and his references are also found in Rigved. Okay. Now हर एक तीर्थंकर से associated कोई symbol है, right? So the symbol associated with Rishabhnath is bull. Okay. So now we'll discuss about 23rd Tirthankar, Lord Parshvanath. So he was the son of King Ashwasena and Queen Vama Devi of Banaras. Okay. And at the age of 30, he renounced the world and became an ascetic. Ascetic मतलब सन्यासी या तपस्वी. तो 30 साल की उम्र में उन्होंने संसार को त्याग दिया और वो एक तपस्वी बन गए. एंड आफ्टर 84 days of penance, penance मतलब तपस्या या तप. So after 84 days of penance, he attained Kaivalya or Keval Gyan. These two terms are very important, so do remember them. Kaivalya or Keval Gyan means omniscience or supreme knowledge, right? So after attaining supreme knowledge, Lord Parshvanath preached for the rest of his life, and his main teachings were ahimsa, satya, astya and aparigraha. Ahimsa means non-violence, satya means truth, astya means non-stealing and aparigraha means non-possession. ओके इनके बारे में हम थोड़ा डिटेल में तब डिस्कस करेंगे जब हम फिलॉसफी एंड टीचिंग्स ऑफ जैनिज्म को डिस्कस करेंगे. ओके सो आफ्टर प्रीचिंग फॉर ओवर 70 years, लॉर्ड पार्श्वनाथ पास्ड अवे, दैट इज ही अटेन्ड निर्वाण एट द एज ऑफ 100 एट सामेद शिखर. सामेद शिखर is on Parasnath Hill in Giridhar district of Jharkhand, right? And Parasnath Hill is named after Lord Parshvanath. Okay, and the symbol associated with Lord Parshvanath is snake, right? Now for extra knowledge, there is one more point here. In Jainism, it is believed that after attaining nirvana or moksha, that is liberation from the cycle of birth and death, a tirthankar becomes a siddha. Siddha means liberated soul, and siddhas resides in the state of perpetual bliss in Siddhashila, which as per Jainism is at the apex or the top of the universe, right? So this is all about 23rd Tirthankar, Lord Parshvanath. Thereafter next is 24th Tirthankar, Vardhaman Mahavir. So he was born in 540 BCE at Kundagram near Vaishali in Bihar. Okay, his father was Siddhartha, who was the head of Jantriya clan, which was the Kshatriya clan, and his mother was Trishla. She was a Lichvi princess, and she was the sister of Lichvi ruler Chetak. Okay, and Vardhaman Mahavir was married to Yashoda and had a daughter Priyadarshana, whose husband Jamali became the first disciple of Vardhaman Mahavir, right? And just like Lord Parshvanath, Vardhaman Mahavir renounced the world at the age of 30 in search of truth and became an ascetic. And for over 12 years, he wandered from place to place, meditating and practicing severe penance. और 12 सालों तक उन्होंने कड़ा तप किया. And thereafter he attained Kaivalya or Keval Gyan, which means omniscience or supreme knowledge, at the age of 42 under a sal tree on the bank of Rijupalika river in near Jimbikagram, right? And after attaining Kaivalya or Keval Gyan, he was called as Kevalin. Kevalin means one who has attained Keval Gyan. He was also called as Jina or Jitendriya, which means conqueror, that is one who has conquered his senses or his passions or desires. He was called as Mahavira, which means the great hero. He was called as Nirgrantha, which means one who is free from bonds. And he was called as Arihanta, which means one who has conquered all the inner enemies like anger, greed, pride, etc. Right? Thereafter, for over next 30 years, he moved from place to place and preached his doctrines in places like Kosla, Magda, Mithila, Champa, etc. Right? And after preaching for over 30 years, Lord Vardhaman Mahavir passed away, that is, he attained Nirvana at the age of 72 in 468 BCE at Pavapuri near Rajgir in Bihar. Okay, and the symbol of Vardhaman Mahavir is lion, right? So this is all about 24th Tirthankar, Vardhaman Mahavir. Now the next topic is philosophy and teachings of Jainism. So first of all is the concept of God. So in Jain philosophy, the world is not created, maintained or destroyed by any supreme God, but functions only according to the universal law. So Jain philosophy के according जो world है या जो यूनिवर्स है वो किसी सुप्रीम गॉड के द्वारा क्रिएट, मेंटेन या डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं किया जाता. रादर द वर्ल्ड फंक्शंस अकॉर्डिंग टू द यूनिवर्सल लॉज or the cosmic laws. Okay, so Jainism does not believe in God as the creator, preserver or destroyer of the universe. However, Jainism does believe in God as a perfect being, that is, one who has destroyed all karmas and attained liberation from the cycle of birth and death. तो देखो, जैनिज्म में गॉड को एज अ क्रिएटर, प्रिजर्वर या डिस्ट्रॉयर ऑफ यूनिवर्स नहीं माना जाता. रादर जैनिज्म में जो गॉड का कॉन्सेप्ट है दैट इज ऑफ अ परफेक्ट बीइंग, मतलब जिसने अपने सभी कर्मों को डिस्ट्रॉय कर दिया है और मोक्ष प्राप्त कर लिया है. ओके, एंड दोज लिबरेटेड सोल्स पोजेसेस इनफाइनाइट नॉलेज, इनफाइनाइट पावर, इनफाइनाइट विजन एंड इनफाइनाइट ब्लिस. Right? So the perfect beings or the liberated souls are the gods in Jainism. Okay. Next is the concept of universe. So as per Jain philosophy, the universe is eternal, which means it has no beginning and no end. Universe is everlasting and it functions through the interaction of living souls called Jiva and 5 categories of non-living entities called Ajiva. 5 categories of non-living entities are Akash, Dharma, Adharm, Kal and Pudgal. Akash means space, Dharma means medium of motion, Adharm means medium of rest, Kal means time and Pudgal means matter. Okay? तो यहाँ एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बहुत ज्यादा डेप्थ में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, बस 4 मेन पॉइंट्स ध्यान में रखो. नंबर 1, एज पर जैन फिलॉसफी यूनिवर्स इज इटर्नल, मतलब जिसका ना कोई बिगिनिंग है ना एंड है. यूनिवर्स हमेशा से एग्जिस्ट करता आया है और हमेशा एग्जिस्ट करता रहेगा. राइट. सेकेंड और थर्ड पॉइंट, जैसा कि हमने पहले डिस्कस किया, यूनिवर्स इज नॉट क्रिएटेड, मेंटेन्ड और डिस्ट्रॉयड बाय एनी सुप्रीम गॉड. एंड थर्ड पॉइंट, यूनिवर्स इज रेगुलेटेड बाय cosmic laws or universal laws. And now the fourth point is that universe function through the interaction of living souls, जिन्हें जीव कहते हैं, and 5 categories of non-living entities, जिन्हें अजीव कहते हैं. 5 categories of non-living entities में आते हैं आकाश, धर्म, अधर्म, काल and पुद्गल. Okay, so just remember these 4 points. Thereafter next is the concept of time. So as per Jain philosophy, time is infinite, that is without any beginning or end. And time is divided into infinite number of cycles called as Kal Chakras, each consisting of a period of improvement known as Uttarpini and period of decline known as Avsarpini. तो देखो, जैन फिलॉसफी के अकॉर्डिंग टाइम एंडलेस है, जो कि साइक्लिकल फॉर्म में मूव करता है, और हर एक साइकिल में आता है पीरियड ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट जिसे उत्तरपिनी कहते हैं एंड पीरियड ऑफ डिक्लाइन जिसे अवसरपिनी कहते हैं. तो यहाँ एक व्हील इमेजिन करो जिसके अंदर 12 स्पोक्स हैं, और जो व्हील का फर्स्ट पार्ट है जिसमें फर्स्ट 6 स्पोक्स हैं, उस फर्स्ट पार्ट को कहते हैं पीरियड ऑफ डिक्लाइन, अवसरपिनी. एंड इन दिस पीरियड ऑफ डिक्लाइन लाइफ ग्रेजुअली डिटीरियोरेट्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ नॉलेज, हैप्पीनेस, लाइफ स्पैन, मोरालिटी, स्पिरिचुअलिटी एटसेट्रा. देयर आफ्टर द सेकेंड हाफ ऑफ द व्हील, जिसके अंदर भी 6 स्पोक्स हैं, एंड दिस सेकेंड हाफ ऑफ द व्हील इज नोन एज पीरियड ऑफ इम्प्रूवमेंट, उत्तरपिनी. एंड इन दिस पीरियड ऑफ इम्प्रूवमेंट लाइफ ग्रेजुअली इम्प्रूव्स in terms of knowledge, lifespan, happiness, spirituality, morality, etc. Right? And as per Jain philosophy, हर एक पीरियड में 24 तीर्थंकर्स आते हैं. पीरियड ऑफ डिक्लाइन में 24 तीर्थंकर्स आते हैं, पीरियड ऑफ इंप्रूवमेंट में 24 तीर्थंकर्स आते हैं. राइट? और जैन फिलॉसफी के अकॉर्डिंग अभी जो प्रेजेंट चल रहा है दैट इज पीरियड ऑफ डिक्लाइन, अवसरपिनी, और अभी के पीरियड के 24 तीर्थंकर्स आ चुके हैं. फर्स्ट तीर्थंकर थे लॉर्ड ऋषभनाथ एंड 24th तीर्थंकर थे लॉर्ड वर्धमान महावीर. ओके. Next is Jain belief in karma and transmigration of soul. So as per Jain philosophy, by their actions, souls accumulate karma. Souls अपने actions के कारण कर्म accumulate करती है, और actions में ना सिर्फ physical actions आते हैं बल्कि mental और verbal actions भी आते हैं. मतलब अपने thoughts, अपने words और अपने actions के through soul कर्म accumulate करती है. And this accumulation of karma draws soul back into a body after death. That is transmigration of soul और rebirth happens. Right? तो जैन फिलोसफी के अकॉर्डिंग कर्मों के accumulation के कारण rebirth होता है, and this cycle of rebirth can only be escaped by expelling existing karma and by preventing accumulation of new karma. So the annihilation of karma, annihilation मतलब destroy करना, annihilation of karma के लिए term यूज होती है निर्जरा. So annihilation of karma comes through penance, मतलब existing कर्मों को तप के द्वारा खत्म करा जा सकता है. And the prevention of influx and fixation of karma in the soul. Prevention of new karma के लिए टर्म यूज होती है संवरा. So prevention of influx and fixation of karma in the soul is ensured by disciplined conduct. Okay. So as per Jain philosophy, accumulation of karma leads to rebirth, and this cycle of rebirth can be escaped by expelling existing karma through penance and by preventing accumulation of new karma through disciplined conduct. Okay. So as per Jain philosophy, the main goal of human life is to attain moksha or nirvana, which means freedom from the cycle of birth, death and rebirth. And this liberation from the cycle of birth, death and rebirth can be achieved by following three ratna or ratantraya. So these three ratnas or three jewels are Samyak Darshan, Samyak Gyan and Samyak Charitra. Samyak Darshan means right faith, which means to have total faith in the preaching of Tirthankars. Thereafter Samyak Gyan. Samyak Gyan means right knowledge, which means to have true and complete understanding of the elements of reality. And this understanding or this knowledge can be obtained by carefully studying the teachings of Tirthankars. Thereafter, Samyak Charitra, which means right conduct, and it involves observance of 5 great vows, which are Panch Mahavrat. Panch Mahavrat are Ahimsa, Satya, Astya, Aparigraha and Brahmacharya. So first is Ahimsa, that is non-violence. तो जैनिज्म में अहिंसा के ऊपर तो बहुत ज्यादा एम्फसाइज किया जाता है, बिकॉज इन जैनिज्म इट इज बिलीव्ड दैट एवरी लिविंग बीइंग पोजेस सोल, चाहे वो कोई लिविंग बीइंग कितना भी छोटा है, एनिमल्स हैं, प्लांट्स हैं, इंसेक्ट्स हैं, चाहे वो कितने भी छोटे हैं, दे ऑल हैव लाइफ. सो एज पर जैनिज्म एवरी लिविंग बीइंग हैज राइट टू एग्जिस्ट, देयरफॉर वन मस्ट नॉट हार्म और किल एनी बीइंग, right? So this doctrine of ahimsa, this is based on love and compassion for all beings, right? Next is satya, that is truth. तो इसमें ये एम्फसाइज किया जाता है कि झूठ नहीं बोलना, सच बोलना है, और सच भी ऐसा बोलना है जो कि होलसम हो और प्लेजेंट हो, राइट? थर्ड इज अस्त्या और अचौर्या, दैट इज नॉन स्टीलिंग, एंड इट सिग्निफाइज दैट वन शुड नॉट टेक एनीथिंग विच डज नॉट बिलोंग टू वन सेल्फ. ओके. नेक्स्ट इज अपरिग्रह, दैट इज नॉन पोजेशन. So in Jainism, it is believed that possessions are obstacles in the path of liberation. So one who desires liberation should withdraw from all worldly attachments, right? And the last is brahmacharya, that is celibacy, which means total abstinence from sensual pleasures, right? Now जो जैन monks और nuns हैं, वो इन पंच महाव्रत को strictly follow करते हैं. But जो householders हैं, they were expected to follow the milder version of these 5 vows, known as anuvrat. So anuvrat means lesser vows followed by householders or lay followers of Jainism, right? And the last point is that जो first 4 vows हैं, अहिंसा, सत्या, अस्त्या और अपरिग्रह, ये दिए थे 23rd तीर्थंकर लॉर्ड पार्श्वनाथ ने, और 5th वन ब्रह्मचार्य ये दिया था 24th तीर्थंकर वर्धमान महावीर ने. ओके. So now we'll discuss the doctrines of Anikantvad, Nayavad and Syadvad. So first of all, Anikantvad, it is the doctrine of multi-sidedness or non-absolutism. As per this doctrine, reality is multifaceted. मतलब reality बहुत complex है और reality के multiple aspects हैं. So reality can be viewed from many standpoints. अनेक means many and अंत means standpoints. So reality इतनी complex है कि उसे काफी तरीकों से देखा जा सकता है. And no single point of view is complete truth. कोई भी एक नजरिया पूर्ण सत्य नहीं है. Now इस डॉक्ट्रिन को एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए एक स्टोरी दी जाती है, that is of an elephant and 5 blind men. तो ये स्टोरी ऐसे है कि एक गांव में एक हाथी आता है और 5 ब्लाइंड मैन जिन्हें नहीं पता होता कि वो हाथी कैसा दिखता है, तो वो उस हाथी के डिफरेंट बॉडी पार्ट्स को टच करके समझने की कोशिश करते हैं कि वो कैसा दिखता है. तो एक ब्लाइंड मैन हाथी की सूंड टच करता है और कहता है ये तो बड़े से सांप जैसा है. एक ब्लाइंड मैन हाथी की पूंछ टच करता है और कहता है ये तो रस्सी जैसा है. एक ब्लाइंड मैन हाथी का कान टच करता है और कहता है ये तो पंखे जैसा है. एक ब्लाइंड मैन हाथी का पेट टच करता है और कहता है ये तो बड़ी सी दीवार जैसा है. एक ब्लाइंड मैन हाथी की टांग टच करता है और कहता है ये तो खंबे जैसा है. तो जैसे यहाँ हर एक पर्सन अपने तरीके से सही है, पर कोई भी पूरी तरीके से सही नहीं है. In the same way, as per this doctrine, reality is so complex that it can be viewed from many standpoints, and no single point of view is complete truth, right? Next is Nayavad. So it is the doctrine of partial viewpoints or perspectives. As per this doctrine, all viewpoints are only partially true. तो इस डॉक्ट्रिन के अकॉर्डिंग किसी चीज को समझाने के लिए या किसी चीज के बारे में बताने के लिए जितने भी व्यू पॉइंट्स दिए जाते हैं वो सभी पार्शली ट्रू होते हैं. कोई भी स्टेटमेंट, कोई भी व्यू पॉइंट कंप्लीटली ट्रू नहीं होता, बिकॉज वो जो स्टेटमेंट दी गई है वो किसी पर्टिकुलर परस्पेक्टिव से, किसी पर्टिकुलर एंगल से दी गई है. सो ऑल व्यू पॉइंट्स आर ओनली पार्शली ट्रू. No statement can be absolutely true because it is arrived at from only one angle or one particular standpoint. Okay, so this is about Nayavad. Next is the doctrine of Syadvad. So Syadvad is the doctrine of conditional predication. So as per this doctrine, since reality is so complex that no single statement can express the nature of reality fully, therefore the term Syat should be prefixed before each statement. Syat means perhaps or maybe or from a perspective of. तो स्यादवाद के अकॉर्डिंग हर एक स्टेटमेंट से पहले स्यात लगाना चाहिए और स्यात ये सिग्निफाई करता है कि जो भी स्टेटमेंट दी गई है वो किसी एक पर्टिकुलर पर्सपेक्टिव से दी गई है, किसी एक पर्टिकुलर व्यू पॉइंट से दी गई है, जो उस पर्सपेक्टिव से तो सही हो सकती है पर किसी दूसरे पर्सपेक्टिव से गलत भी हो सकती है, राइट। एंड एज पर दिस थ्योरी 7 मोड्स ऑफ प्रेडिकेशन आर पॉसिबल। मतलब किसी वस्तु या किसी विषय के बारे में बताने के लिए 7 तरह की स्टेटमेंट्स हो सकती है और हर एक स्टेटमेंट के आगे स्यात लगाना चाहिए। Okay, so this theory is also known as Saptabhangiya Nyaya, which means theory of 7 conditional predications. Okay, so these are the doctrines of Anekantvad, Nayavad and Syadvad. Now the significance of these doctrines is that they encourages open-mindedness and promotes tolerance and respect towards different point of views. Okay, so with this we have completed the discussion on Jain philosophy, right? Okay, so now we will quickly discuss about the spread of Jainism. So first of all, Vardhaman Mahavir organized 4-fold religious order, that is Sangh, to spread the teachings of Jainism. It is composed of 4 groups that are Sadhus, Sadhvis, Shravaks and Shravikas. Okay, and the dedicated efforts of the members of Sangh led to the spread of Jainism in different parts of the country. Right? Thereafter, use of common language. So the teachings of Mahavir were in Prakrit, which was then the language of common people, instead of Sanskrit, which people did not understand. Right? तो एक तो जैनिज्म की टीचिंग्स प्राकृत में थी एंड सेकेंडली सिंपल डॉक्ट्रिन्स propounded in Jainism attracted people. Right? So thereafter, royal patronage. So patronization by kings like Chandragupta Maurya, Kharavela of Kalinga and dynasties of South India such as Gangas, Kadambas, Chalukyas and Rashtrakutas led to the spread of Jainism. Okay? So this is about the spread of Jainism. So now we'll discuss about the sects of Jainism. So by the end of 4th century BCE, a great famine took place in Magadha. And due to this, many Jain monks led by Bhadrabahu and Chandragupta Maurya went to Shravanbelagola in Karnataka. And these Jain monks who went to Karnataka, they continued to follow the strict practices of Jainism. Whereas those who stayed back in Magadha were led by Sthulbhadra or Sthulbahu, who changed code of conduct for monks. That is, he allowed his followers to wear white clothes. Right? Now this famine, this lasted for over 12 years. And after the end of this famine, some Jain monks, they came back to Magadha. And they noticed change in practices of those Jain monks who stayed back in Magadha. Right? And this led to the differences between these two groups. So in order to sort out these differences and in order to compile Jain literature, first Jain council was convened in Patliputra. But this council was boycotted by those Jain monks who came back from south. Right? So this led to the division of Jainism into 2 sects, Shwetambars and Digambars. So Shwetambar means white clad. So Shwetambars were those who wear white clothes. And Digambar means sky clad. So Digambars were those who do not wear clothes. Okay. So this is how Jainism got divided into 2 sects, Shwetambars and Digambars. अब इनके कुछ और डिफरेंसेस हैं, उनको डिस्कस कर लेते हैं और साथ ही इनके सब सेक्ट्स को भी डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. राइट? ओके, तो अब दिगंबर और श्वेतांबर सेक्ट्स के डिफरेंसेस को डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. सो एज वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड, देयर बेसिक डिफरेंस इज ऑन क्लोथिंग. दिगंबर्स बिलीव दैट न्यूडिटी इज एसेंशियल टू अचीव लिबरेशन. दिगंबर मानते हैं कि मोक्ष प्राप्त करने के लिए हर एक चीज का त्याग करना जरूरी है, इंक्लूडिंग कपड़ों का. सो मंक्स ऑफ दिगंबर सेक्ट, दे डू नॉट वियर क्लोथ्स. Whereas on the other hand, Shwetambars believe that nudity is not essential to attain liberation. So monks of Shwetambar sect, they wear white clothes. Okay. Next point is about their views on liberation of women. So as per Digambars, women cannot attain liberation. A woman had to be reborn as a man in order to attain liberation. Right? Whereas according to Shwetambars, women can attain liberation. Right? Digambars believe that Tirthankars can be men only. And 19th Tirthankar Mallinath was a man. Whereas Shwetambars believe that Tirthankars can be men or women and 19th Tirthankar Mallinath was a woman. Okay. Thereafter, next difference is on idols of Tirthankars. So idols of Tirthankars in Digambar sect are undecorated, naked and with downcast eyes in the contemplative mood. Whereas idols of Tirthankars in Shwetambar sect are decorated with jewels, wearing loincloth and with glass eyes inserted in marble. Okay. Next difference is on literature. So Digambars believe that original and genuine texts were lost long ago, and they refused to accept the outcome of the first council headed by Stulbhadra and consequently the recasting of the Angas. Whereas Shwetambars, they believe in the outcome of the first council and thus in the validity and sacredness of the canonical literature, that is 12 Angas and Sutras. Okay. Thereafter, their views on marriage of Vardhaman Mahavir. So according to Digambars, Vardhaman Mahavir was unmarried. Whereas according to Shwetambars, Vardhaman Mahavir was married to Yashoda and had a daughter whose name was Priyadarshana, right? So these are the main differences between Digambar sect and Shwetambar sect. So next we will discuss about the subsects of Digambars and Shwetambars. Okay. So हर एक सबसेक्ट के मेजरली 1-2 पॉइंट से डिस्कस करेंगे, बहुत ज्यादा डेप्थ में नहीं जाएंगे बिकॉज इतना ही सफिशिएंट है एग्जाम्स पर्सपेक्टिव से. ओके. सो फर्स्ट स्टार्ट दिगंबर सबसेक्ट्स. So Digambar sect has been divided into major subsects and minor subsects. Major subsects में आते हैं बीस पंथ, तेरा पंथ एंड तरन पंथ, और minor subsects हैं गुमान पंथ एंड टोटा पंथ. Okay. So first is बीस पंथ. So the followers of बीस पंथ, they support dharam gurus known as Bhatarkas, who are also the heads of Jain Mathas, right? And these panths worship the idols of Tirthankars and idols of other deities in their temples. Okay. And today, practically all Digambar Jains from Maharashtra, Karnataka and South India and a large number of Digambar Jains from Rajasthan and Gujarat are the followers of Bees Panth. Okay. So this is about Bees Panth. Next, Tera Panth. So Tera Panth arose in North India as a revolt against the domination and conduct of the Bhatarkas. Right? And Tera Panth, they worship idols of Tirthankars but not idols of other deities in their temples. Okay. So these are the main two differences between these two. Bees Panth, they support Dharam Gurus Bhatarkas, whereas Tera Panths are against the domination and conduct of Bhatarkas. Secondly, Bees Panth, they worship idols of other deities as well in their temples, whereas Tera Panths, they do not worship idols of other deities in their temples. Okay. And today, followers of Tera Panth are majorly found in Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Okay. Thereafter, third major subsect is Taran Panth. So Taran Panth is also called as Smeya Panth because its followers worship Sarnya, that is sacred books, and not the idols. तो तरन पंथ सेक्ट में आइडल वर्शिप नहीं होती. तरन पंथ strongly refute idolatry, but they have their own temples in which they keep their sacred books for worship. Okay, so this is the main difference between Bees Panth, Tera Panth and Taran Panth sect. बीस पंथ और तेरा पंथ में आइडल वर्शिप होती है, बट तरन पंथ में आइडल वर्शिप नहीं होती. Okay, and today Taran Panthis are mostly confined to Bundelkhand and Malwa area of Madhya Pradesh and Khandesh area of Maharashtra. Okay, so next are minor subsects Guman Panth and Tota Panth. So Guman Panth originated in 18th century and it is found in some areas of Rajasthan around Jaipur. Okay, so the two main points of Guman Panth sect are, number one, that in Guman Panth lighting of candles or lamps in Jain temples is strictly prohibited, because it is regarded as the violation of fundamental doctrine of Jainism, that is non-violence. Okay, so the followers of Guman Panth sect, they only visit and view the image in the temples and do not make any offerings to them. Right? So this is about Guman Panth. Next is Tota Panth. So Tota Panth came into existence as a result of differences between Bees Panth and Tera Panth subsects. Bees, that is 20. Tera, that is 13. So the average comes out to be 16.5, right? So this new sect is called as Tota Panth. So the followers of Tota Panth partially follow the doctrines of both of these schools, right? And the followers of Tota Panth are very few in number and they are found only in some areas of Madhya Pradesh, right? So this is about the Tota Panth sect. Okay, तो अब श्वेतांबर सबसेक्ट्स डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. तो श्वेतांबर सबसेक्ट्स हैं मूर्ति पूजका, स्थानकवासी एंड तेरापंथी. So first of all, Murti Pujaka. So as the name suggests, Murti Puja. So they worship idols at their temples. Okay. They are also known as Pujera, means worshippers. Deravasi means temple residents. Chaityavasi means temple residents. And Mandir Margi means temple goers. Okay. And today, the followers of Murti Pujaka sect are scattered all over India. but still they are concentrated mostly in Gujarat, right? So this is about Murti Pujka. Next is Sthanakvasi. So Sthanakvasi do not believe in idol worship. So as such, they do not have temples, but they have sthanaks, that is prayer halls, where they carry on their religious fasts, festivals, practices, prayers, etc. Right? And followers of Sthanakvasi sect are found mainly in Gujarat, Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan. Okay. Now the last subsect is Terapanthi. So Terapanthi, like Sthanakvasi, do not believe in idol worship. Okay. तो यहाँ कंफ्यूज नहीं होना, दिगंबर सेक्ट में भी तेरापंथी है और श्वेतांबर सेक्ट में भी तेरापंथी है. दिगंबर सेक्ट वाले जो तेरापंथी है, दे बिलीव इन आइडल वर्शिप, बट जो श्वेतांबर सेक्ट में तेरापंथी है, दे डू नॉट बिलीव इन आइडल वर्शिप. ओके. So Terapanthis, they attach importance to the practice of meditation, right? And they are known for their disciplined organization characterized by one acharya, one code of conduct and one line of thought, right? So Terapanthis emphasize on the simplicity in religion, right? And Terapanthis are concentrated mainly in Bikaner, Jodhpur and Mewar areas of Rajasthan, okay? So these are the three Shwetambar subsects. So now we'll discuss about Jain councils. So first Jain council was held in 300 BC at Patliputra in Bihar, and this council was presided by Sthulbhadra, and this council was patronized by Chandragupta Maurya. And in this council, 12 Angas were compiled, and Jainism got divided into two sects, Shwetambars and Digambars. Okay. Thereafter, second council was held in 512 AD at Vallabhi in Gujarat, and this council was presided by Devardik Shamsamana. And in this council 12 Angas and 12 Upangas were finally compiled. Okay. तो जैन लिटरेचर के बारे में हम डिटेल में नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में डिस्कस करेंगे, राइट? सो दिस इज अबाउट जैन काउंसिल्स. अब इसके बाद कुछ मिसलेनियस टॉपिक बचे हैं, उन्हें भी डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. सो अब कुछ मिसलेनियस टॉपिक्स बचे हैं, उन्हें भी जल्दी से पढ़ लेते हैं. सो फर्स्ट इज अष्टमंगल. अष्टमंगल आर द 8 auspicious symbols in Jainism. So first is swastik. Swastik is a symbol of peace and well-being. Second, Nandavarth. Nandavarth is a complex form of swastik with 9 end points. Third is Shrivats. तो श्रीवत्स तीर्थंकर्स की चेस्ट पे एक मार्क होता है जो सिंबलाइज करता है प्योरिटी ऑफ सोल, कंपैशन एटसेट्रा. फोर्थ इज भद्रासन. भद्रासन इज अ होली सीट और थ्रोन. सो दिस इज द सीट ऑफ लिबरेटेड सोल्स. Thereafter next is Vardhamanak. So Vardhamanak is an earthen bowl sealed with another earthen bowl and used as a lamp, and it is symbolic of light banishing darkness. Next is Kalash. Kalash is a pot filled with holy water and it represents purity and wisdom. Thereafter Meen Yugal. Meen Yugal is a fish couple considered auspicious and it shows the flow of divine life in the cosmic ocean. And the last is Darpan. Darpan symbolizes one's true self, that is the soul. Okay. So these are the 8 auspicious symbols. So just go through them 1 or 2 times and you will easily be able to remember them. Okay. Next is motto of Jainism. So the motto of Jainism is Parasparo Pagroho Jivanam. It means that all life is bound together by mutual support and interdependence. तो इसका मतलब ये है कि सभी जीव एक दूसरे पर आश्रित हैं. All living beings are interconnected and interdependent on each other. Right? So this phrase emphasizes on principle of non-violence and ecological harmony. Okay. Now also remember that this phrase is taken from Jain text Tattvarth Sutra. Okay. Next is the fundamental prayer in Jainism, that is Navkar Mantra or Namaskar Mantra. So this mantra is dedicated to Panch Parmeshthi. Panch Parmeshthi are the 5 supreme beings in Jainism. So Panch Parmeshthi are Arihants, Siddhas, Acharyas, Upadhyayas and all sadhus and sadhvis. Okay. So this mantra serves as a gesture of deep respect towards all supreme beings. And this mantra is chanted to seek their blessings. Okay. And this mantra also reminds people of their ultimate goal, that is Nirvana or Moksha. Right. And next is Pratikraman. तो प्रतिक्रमण एक ऐसी प्रैक्टिस है जिसमें जैन लोग पश्चाताप करते हैं अपनी गलतियों का जो उनसे उनकी दिनचर्या में जाने अनजाने से हो गई हूं. राइट. सो दिस इज द रिचुअल ड्यूरिंग विच जैन्स रिपेंट फॉर देयर सिंस एंड नॉन मेरिटोरियस एक्टिविटीज कमिटेड नोइंगली एंड अननोइंगली ड्यूरिंग द डेली लाइफ थ्रू थॉट, स्पीच और एक्शन. ओके. देयरआफ्टर नेक्स्ट इज पर्युषण पर्व. पर्युषण पर्व इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट एनुअल फेस्टिवल ऑफ जैन रिलीजन. Okay, so Shwetambar sect celebrates this festival for 8 days in the form of Paryushan, and with the end of Paryushan starts Dashlakshan Parv of Digambar sect, which is celebrated for 10 days. Okay, so this festival involves fasting, meditation, studying of scriptures and self-reflection. Right, and the last day of this festival is called Samvatsari Pratikraman. So this is the day of forgiveness On this day, Jains forgive and they seek forgiveness from others for their mistakes committed knowingly or unknowingly in the past year. Right? So forgiveness is asked by saying Michhami Dukhdam. Okay? So this is about Paryushan Parv and thereafter last is Santhara. संथारा को संलेखना भी कहा जाता है और जैन धर्म में इस प्रथा को बहुत पवित्र माना जाता है। तो इस प्रथा में जैन धर्म के जो वृद्ध लोग हैं जिन्हें लगता है कि अब उनका अंतिम समय करीब है तो वो अपनी इच्छा से धीरे धीरे भोजन और जल त्याग देते हैं और जैन धर्म में माना जाता है कि इस प्रथा से आत्मशुद्धि होती है और मोक्ष प्राप्त होता है। ओके, सो संथारा और संलेखना इज द रिलीजियस प्रैक्टिस ऑफ वॉलंटरीली फास्टिंग टू डेथ बाय ग्रेजुअली रिड्यूसिंग द इनटेक ऑफ फूड एंड लिक्विड्स, राइट। सो विद दिस वी कम टू द एंड ऑफ टुडेज लेक्चर। आई होप आपको ये लेक्चर यूजफुल लगा होगा। इफ यू फाइंड द लेक्चर हेल्पफुल देन डू सब्सक्राइब टू द चैनल एंड कीप वॉचिंग एंड कीप लर्निंग। थैंक यू सो मच।